Alright, so today we're going to learn how to do this cool car animation in Blender using the EEVEE render engine. It's pretty easy to do, so let's get started. Alright, hit A on your keyboard and then X to delete everything. And then we are going to go on Edit, Preferences, and this is very important. Make sure the Node Wrangler add-on is enabled, and then make sure the Image as Planes add-on is enabled right here. Next, we're going to need a car model. I went ahead and downloaded this model here on TurboSquid. If you want to follow along, you can download the same one that I'm using. Link in the description. Okay, so once you've downloaded it and saved it, go to File, Append, and then go to where you saved it. I saved it here. Go to Objects, hit A, and then Append. And we got the car model here. We're not going to be using any of the rigging here, but we are going to rig the wheels. Let's go ahead and click on some of the parts here. Hit H to hide. Hit H to hide them. And then hit Z here for the top view. And we're going to rig the wheels. So first, click on the front wheel here. Right click, set origin to geometry. And then we're going to hit Shift S on your keyboard, cursor to selected. Then Shift A, and we're going to add in an empty plane axis. So S to scale it down, Control A, apply scale, and we're going to add one to each wheel. So do the same thing here. Okay, cool. Once you've added all your empties, we're going to add one more empty. So Shift S, cursor to world origin, then Shift A, empty plane axis, and then you can move it up above the car like this. We'll scale it down a little bit. Control A, apply scale. First, let's organize a little bit. So let's go to collections here. Make a new collection. Call this tire controls. And then we're going to move all the empties we just added into the new collection folder, just to stay organized. Let's also name them. And this one here, the one above the car, is going to be called the master control, because it's going to control the entire car. Now, we are going to unhide everything by hitting Alt-H, and then we're going to hit A on your keyboard to select everything, and then select your master empty here by hitting Shift on your keyboard, and then just selecting it again. Then we're going to hit Control-P, keep transformation, and we're going to parent everything to this empty. So now if you move this empty, everything will move along with it. Now, we got to parent the other empties to the tires. So select the tire, then select your empty by hitting Shift on your keyboard and then clicking the empty like this. Then hit Control P, Object, keep transformation. And you're going to do that with the rest of them. Now if you move one of these empties, the tire will move along with it. Now we are going to make sure the tires roll when the car moves. So hit N on your keyboard and then select this empty here, and we're going to go on. Actually, before we do that, let's rotate the entire car. So hit A on your keyboard, R, Z, 90, minus, and we're going to make sure it's facing this way. You can also use this selection here to rotate it as well. Now, select the empty again. We're going to go on the X rotation. We're going to right click and add driver. Then we're going to change the expression here to VR times 5. And we're going to change the object to master control. So now, if you move the master empty forward like this, the tire will move along with it. So you don't have to worry about animating it. Now it's moving backwards, which is what we don't want. So let's just fix that by selecting the empty again, going on the X rotation, edit driver, and we're just going to change the expression to -5. And that should fix it. If I move it forward, there we go, it's moving properly now. So do the same thing with the rest of the empties. So On to step 2. Make sure you're saving as well. Go on save as. I'm going to call this car tutorial. Cool. Now hit A and we're going to hide everything. So hit H. Now we're going to make the road. Let's do that. First, let's make a new collection. We'll call it environment. Then hit Shift A, add in a plane. This will be the road base. Hit S, Y, and then 8. And make sure it's facing the other direction. So RZ90. Control A, apply scale. We're going to go into edit mode. So hit Tab and make sure the faces selection is selected. Face selection is selected. And then select the bottom face. Hit E on your keyboard and extrude it down. Then select the faces on the side. So select this one, hold Shift, select this one, and make sure the individual origins is selected here. Hit E and then extrude it outwards like this. Then select the top faces like this. E again, extrude upwards. S and then Y. And extrude like this. Sorry, bring them in like this. Next, we're going to add in another plane. So Shift A, plane. Same thing, S, X, 8. Boom. And we're going to call this the road. You can just bring it up a little bit. Just a tiny bit. There we go. Let's go on to our render settings and just change the render settings to 10 here. And you can uncheck my viewport denoising. This will make sure the render preview is a little faster in case you have a slow laptop or computer. We're going to go into the shading tab. We don't need these windows. We can just collapse them like this. And then hit new. And then select the principal BSDF. On your keyboard, hit Control-Shift-T. And we're going to add in a road texture. Now you can get a free one on textures.com. I'll link the same one that I'm using in the description. So just select all of them like this. There we go. But it is facing the wrong way, so we can just go onto the mapping node. We can just go onto the mapping node and change the direction. Like that. Now, if you want to make it a little more realistic, do this step here. You don't have to. You can skip this part if you want, but I'm going to make it a little more realistic. So let's go Shift A, add in a noise texture. Control T to add in a mapping and texture coordinate. Then hit Shift A again. We're going to add in 2 color ramps. Shift D, add another one here. Connect the factor to each one, like this. Then Shift A again, bump node, and connect the color to the height. Now just move these two to the side here. Bring the bump node down all the way here. And connect the bump node to the normal. And then connect the normal map to the normal of the bump. Then you also need to connect the color ramp to the roughness here. Okay, just mess with the settings here to get a better look of the road. So increase the roughness. Also, we need to bring the scale down here. So let's just bring the scale down of the x-axis, I believe, yes. Bring it down, bring it to about 10, I guess. Then bring the detail up to 15. You get a little bit of a bumpy texture on the road, which makes it a little more realistic. Okay, now go back to the layout and we will add a texture to the road base as well. So go into the side view like this. Go on to render preview. You can also hit Z and go on to render preview like this. And then we're going to go on to the material properties, hit new, and then just go on base color, image texture, then hit open. And I'm going to use this basic concrete texture. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. You can download it for free on textures.com. Boom. And it's looking a little bit off. It looks a little bit stretched downwards like this. So we're just going to hit tab on our keyboard, hit A, U to unwrap, and then Q projection, which will make it look a little bit better. Select the road base first, then select the road, hit Control J to join them together. Now we got one road. Go back to solid view, and now we're going to add a modifier. So let's add an array modifier, and we're going to extend the highway. So let's extend it the other way, I believe. So like -1. There we go. And we're going to add about, we'll add about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that's 6. Just go ahead and hit apply. Cool. Now we have our highway. Now let's bring in our car. So Alt H to bring back our car. And the scale is a bit too big for the highway, so let's just scale it down a bit by hitting S. Whoops. Let's unselect the highway. And then S, let's scale it down. Make sure it fits the highway. If your viewport is slowing down like mine, you can change the settings here. Change the viewport to 1, just so it runs a little bit faster. You can change it back later if you want. So let's just make this smaller. Feel like we can move it to the side here like this. Maybe just a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and add in a camera. Camera up a little bit. You can go on view, camera, select active camera. Now let's just adjust the camera. So you can use the settings here to move the camera. And we're gonna give it a low angle type of view. Let's rotate it like this. Let's make it a little wider. Go into the focal length. I think 40 is good. I kind of don't like how high the side here is, so I'm just gonna adjust that real quick. So let's just go into tab. Make sure the face selection is selected. Click the faces here. Like this. So let's just quickly select all of them. Hold here. Then hit 0 on your number pad. Go back to camera view. Hit G and then Z, and we'll bring it down a bit. Now we are going to animate the car. So we're going to select the empty here. Go on your timeline view. Go on location. Right click. Insert keyframe. Let's make this 5 seconds. So 120 frames is good enough. Go all the way to the end here. And let's go on Z and move it all the way to the end. I think right here is good. And then just click on the keyframe here. So now it is animated. Also, on your timeline, hit A, right click, and make sure the interpolation mode is linear. So now when you hit play, the car will move really fast. Now, let's go back to the car. Whoops. And let's parent the camera to the empty so it follows the car. So click on your camera, shift, click on the empty, Control P, object, boom. Now if you hit 0 on your number pad, go back to camera view, the camera follows the car. I don't know why the wheels are moving backwards again. So let's just fix that real quick. Click the empty, hit N on your keyboard, go on edit driver, and just change that to, I guess, just 5. And you can adjust this. If you want the wheels to move faster, you can increase the amount to 10 or something. But let's just keep it at 5, see how it looks later on. But yeah, let's just edit driver. Change that to -5. That should fix it. There we go. Okay, for the next step, we're going to make the city. So let's hide everything for now. And credits to Lane Wallace. I'm going to be using his method to create our city. So Shift A, let's add in a plane. Let's go to our modifiers, subdivision, 8, 8, simple, and then apply. Then we're going to go on to displace, new, and we are gonna make it clouds, then go onto sound noise, make this hard, color, and change that to 0.20, make the depth 1, and now we get some building geometry here, which is pretty nice. Then just go onto color ramp, check that, and then bring it down a little bit. Not too much though. And then that should be enough. After that, we can go to our modifiers and apply it. And now if you want, you can adjust some of the geometry here by hitting tab and just deleting some of it like this if you want to clean it up a bit. But for now, this is good. So let's uncheck mark everything. And let's go to our camera view by hitting 0 on your number pad. And let's adjust where this is going to be. So Y, I'm going to move it here. Let's move it down here. Let's make it a little bigger. X, and then stretch it out a bit. Now let's go on to shading. Let's hit new. And I'm going to be using this city texture that I downloaded from textures.com. Link in the description. Bring it in and plug it into the base color. And again, make sure you're saving your work. Very important. And now we shall see how it looks. So let's go onto our render preview. Now it looks all stretched out, but we can fix that by going into our UV editor. Make sure you're in edit mode by hitting tab. Select A, and then U, and then project from view. Now you kind of get a city background here, which is nice, but it's kind of messed up here a little bit, so we can adjust that. Let's just select everything here by hitting A, and then G, and then Z, and we're going to move it up. Never mind. G and Z did not work, but let's just move it up a bit and adjust it like that. How does that look? I think that looks better. Yeah, let's go back to shading, and like we can put this on solid view for now. Let's add in a color ramp. Let's add in an emission shader like that, and let's add in a mixed shader. Plug that in like that. Plug the color into the factor, and we'll plug the emission into the second socket here, and we'll plug the picture into regular right there, and we'll also plug the color of the picture into our emission, and plug this into the color ramp as well. Okay, cool. Let's save, and let's go back to our render view this time. Ooh, okay, pretty cool. Pretty cool. We might have to adjust it a little bit here, but if you want to bring this in a bit, you can mess with the settings and how bright it is. You can actually make this brighter by hitting 5, and we get a brighter image. Let's adjust it a little bit. Next, let's duplicate these, and let's make them a lot bigger actually. Okay, so you know what? This has to be way bigger. So we're gonna have to make it giant like that. Let's move it back. A little bigger actually. The scale of the city, it's got to be way bigger than the car. Then we can just hit Alt G on our keyboard, escape, go to top view, and we can just move it like this. Looking good. See how it looks. Pretty cool. And if you want to see a quick preview of how it's looking, you can just hit render image, but make sure the render is on like 10. And you can make this like 50%, just so it renders out really fast. So render image, and we'll just see how it looks. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Okay, this part looks very messed up. So we can fix that by going into the UV editor. Let's just fix that real quick. So select A, hit A to select everything. And let's just move it so it doesn't look that bad anymore. I think like this, I think that looks way better. Okay, next we're gonna add in some lighting. So go to your world settings here, go to color, go to environment texture, click open, and then we are going to add in an HDRI. Now you can download the same one that I'm using. I'm gonna use this one here, link in the description. Click open image, and boom. Change the strength to 0.2. Now, to hide some of the imperfections, we're gonna add some fog. So let's do that by hitting Shift A, adding in a cube. We're gonna scale it up quite a bit actually. And we're gonna scale it by hitting S, X, scale it this way, kind of like that. Let's go to top view, and let's just make sure it's covering everything. Let's do SY scale. There we go. And to make it see-through, we can just go on the transformation properties. We can go on viewport display, and we can display it as wire. So now it's see-through. Let's bring it up a bit. Okay, just hit apply scale. And now we will go on to the, make sure to save first, of course. Then go to shading. Change the cube to fog. And then we're gonna add in some fog. So Shift A, let's do volume scatter. Plug the volume into the volume here. Then change the density to 0.09. Boom. And then you can check out how it looks. Turn on ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections, and motion blur. But before that, save. And then we can check out how it looks. So you can hold Z and go into render view. See, I think that looks way better. Let's increase the emission strength of the buildings as well. Maybe 40. I like that. Also, let's make the surface here a little more reflective. So let's just go to the shader here, use nodes, and let's just increase the roughness just a tiny bit. Something like that. So now it's at least reflecting a little bit. Okay, so I'm not sure why the road is looking a bit green. It might be because of the HDRI. So let's go to our render settings. Let's just turn everything off to make everything a little bit more faster. Actually, let's go to shading first. Let's change this to world view. And let's click on our HDRI, hit Control T. Now let's go on our render view. Make this 0.08. We can also animate the direction of the light here, of the HDRI. So we can just hit right click, insert keyframe, go to the end, and we can just adjust it, say like 360, and then insert keyframe. Boom. Just so we see something reflecting as the car's passing by. If you're satisfied with everything, just make sure ambient occlusion, bloom, screen space reflections, and motion blur is turned on. Might want to decrease a little bit if the tires are still messing up. To render it out, I would just go on to, well, first I would make sure this is set to 40. Make sure the percentage resolution is 100%. Then just save it to whatever folder you want to save it to. Switch this to FFmpeg video and switch the encoding to MP4. Then all you got to do is just hit render animation, and yeah, you can render it out. I went ahead and added some highway lights along with a filter to enhance the look of the animation. If you have any issues or questions or concerns, please leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer all your questions. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Give this video a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.